Ready? We're starting. Welcome, everybody, to the Rye Town Council meeting of June 16th, 2022. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for the town prayer. Heavenly Father, bless assemblage. Grant us the wisdom to make every decision fair-minded and in the best interest for all its residents. Amen.
Thank you. I think we call the roll first.
Yes. Councilperson Pamela Jaffe.
Here.
Councilperson Jill Axelrod.
Here.
Councilperson Thomas Nardi.
Here.
Councilperson Lindsay Jackson.
Here.
And Supervisor Gary Zuckerman.
Here. Before we commence the meeting, I'd like to make an announcement. Debbie Reiser, our town administrator, has successfully completed the Association of Towns Certified Town Official Program. Debbie, does that mean you get to write CTO after your name?
It does.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
I'm starting to.
The CTO designation is an attestation to Debbie's commitment to a comprehensive professional development program sponsored by the Association of Towns that encompasses the powers, responsibilities, and select issues of the primary public offices at the town level. So congratulations, Debbie.
Thank you.
And you get a lot, you get credits for these things. What does this involve?
This involved taking a range of coursework in the distinct disciplines within town management, which I've been doing in pieces over the last several years.
Like what?
The most recent courses I took in code enforcement. I've taken courses in for highway superintendents. I've taken courses in introduction to assessment.
So the wide range of what the towns do.
Correct,
No.
exactly. A little bit of what everybody does.
Good. And that enables you to do your job better and make the town run better. So thank you very much for that.
It's been my pleasure. I've truly enjoyed it.
I'm glad you did.
Yeah, and I also want to take this opportunity to thank the council for giving me this opportunity to be able to pursue professional development in this field.
You're very welcome. And now let's get on with the meeting. Adoption of minutes for May 19th of 2022. Adoption of minutes for May 19th, 2022. May I have a motion and a second?
Make the motion.
I'll second.
If there are no additions or corrections, all in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. We have a public hearing that was continued on local law number 3 of 2022, which involves authorizing the town board to use video conferencing technology to participate in public meetings. There have been a couple of changes since the original draft last month. Section 4 and 5 have been added. Section 4 basically is a restatement of the law as it existed prior to the legislature passing the most recent law, which essentially provides that if there is no quorum in a publicly accessible place, then we may have video conferencing, but at that point, every place where a council member attends is a public place. So this is what the status of the law had been prior to COVID. And this is what the law has changed once we passed the local law. Once we have a quorum at a public place, then other members may attend remotely without revealing where they're attending from and having that place accessible, such as your bedroom or your hospital room. Caveat, under the procedures and according to the law, members cannot just say they're not coming to the meeting. There has to be a valid excuse, many of which are set forth in our video conferencing procedures and policies, which we will handle with the resolution subsequently to approving the local law. The other section that was added was a state of emergency section. Basically, this permits the town and any public body in the town. The only public body of which I'm aware of, other than the council, is the Board of Assessment and Review. If there's a state of emergency declared, such as a hurricane or a snow emergency, where it is not feasible for the council or public body to gather in a single place, the state of emergency will allow video conferencing in the same manner that it has been during the COVID epidemic. So with those two, are there any, first of all, are there any comments from the public regarding the local law?
Well, there are
Anything
none
that-
on Facebook.
Okay. And I don't see any, I don't hear anything coming across the speaker system. With that, I am now, are there any council people that have questions or comments?
No comments, just a question. Board of Assessment Review. I held a monthly committee meeting. Is my committee still able to meet on Zoom, or do we have to meet in person?
Well, I don't believe that your committee is a public body. I
Okay.
would defer to the town attorney as to whether or not the Sustainability Committee is in fact a public body.
Yes. Yes, it's a public body.
Oh, fun.
It's open to the public. Your meetings are technically open to the public.
Okay, thank you.
See? So
So it
you
was a good
are,
question.
We have not had the practice of issuing a public notice for the meeting. Should we start to do that on 48 hours in advance of the meeting of the Sustainability Committee?
Are the meetings scheduled anywhere on the website?
No,
Yeah. then I
but that can be
would err on-
changed.
I would err on the side of letting the public.
Pam, are minutes taken?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Minutes are taken, actions really are not taken.
Well, I defer to Jeff. It is not a body that makes decisions, it's a body that makes recommendations, but certainly,
Advisory, it's still open to the public.
fine. Then the
Okay.
Sustainability Committee will be following the policies set forth in this local law.
I did have a conversation with Katie Hodgkin from the Association of Towns.
She's
and
the
she
attorney
said,
for Association.
right, and she said whenever a public body meets, it has to be noticed and it has to, yeah.
The question, Hope, though, is each and every committee a public body? We do know, for example, in the villages, the Zoning Board of Appeals, the Planning Commission, those are certainly public bodies and they take actions. But the question is whether advisory committees are in fact public bodies. I don't know the answer to that offhand. Jeff opines that it is in fact a public body. And you can call the Association of Towns just to confirm that. I don't think we have any problem with the concept of
She said the Board of Assessment Review is,
Certainly, the Board of
Right.
Assessment Review is, absolutely. You know, the question is about the sustainability, which is the only other committee we really have. You know, it's-
Subcommittees are, you know, they're creatures of the public body, so they're public bodies.
It's not a problem. I mean, you know, it's just that you'll have to amend your procedures to make sure that the supervisor's office sends out public notices. Right. It's probably a better practice anyway. You want people to come.
we do.
Good. Okay, if no further comments. May I have a motion and a second to approve local law number 3?
I'll make the motion.
Oh, no, hold on, wait.
You have to close.
May I have a thank you. I knew your mind. May I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion too.
I'll second.
Thank you. Hope, please call the roll on that.
Councilperson Jaffe?
Aye.
Councilperson Axelrod?
Yes.
Councilperson Nardi?
Yes.
Councilperson Jackson?
Yes.
And Supervisor Zuckerman?
Yes. And now, may I have a motion to approve local law number 3?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Hope, please call the roll.
Mhm. Councilperson Jaffe?
Yes.
Councilperson Axelrod?
Yes.
Councilperson Nardi?
Yes.
Councilperson Jackson?
Yes.
And Supervisor Zuckerman?
Yes, thank you. And now we have a resolution to implement the video conferencing procedures and policies of the town of Rye, which is a requirement in the state legislation. I think all of you have read it. It's not very complicated. It just fleshes out some of the local law, such as what I had mentioned before, where a member who wishes to be excused from a meeting has to submit a notification in writing to the chair of the public body. And there will be a record of remote attendance, so the clerk will note in the record which of the members of the public body are appearing remotely, et cetera. There's also a provision for accessibility, and meetings that use video conferencing shall utilize technology to permit access by members of the public with disabilities, consistent with the 1990 ADA. And the guidance that we have gotten from the Association of Towns and NICOM is that Zoom is one of those technologies that allows for, that complies with the American with Disabilities Act. So, are there any questions or comments regarding the policy itself? Hearing none, may I have a motion and a second to approve the video conferencing policy?
So moved.
Second.
Hope, please call the
Mhm.
roll.
Councilperson Jaffe?
Yes.
Councilperson Axelrod?
Yes.
Councilperson Nardi?
Yes.
Councilperson Jackson?
Yes.
And Supervisor Zuckerman?
Yes, thank you. Our next item is a resolution approving a donation for the Columbus Day celebration in the amount of $1,500 as adopted in the 2022 budget. Are there any?
I just have a quick question. Has there been any communication from the parade committee requesting additional funds, just given that everything's up in cost this year?
No,
Well,
not that I'm aware of.
well, they talked to me. Charlie has actually asked me about it, and I told him to submit a letter and for next year, so we can adapt it, because we already have a set fee, set amount of funds for this year. And if you'd like extra money, because everything has been going up, so to submit a letter and we can consider it for next budget.
All right, thank you, Tom.
You're welcome.
Given that information, couldn't we add a little bit on for this year as well, just to,
I mean, that's up to you guys, you know.
Well, they've requested $1,500.
I wasn't sure what we had budgeted.
That's what was budgeted. They've requested. If they want to make an additional request for some reason, then we'll be happy to consider it, since I assume the Columbus Day celebration is in October.
Yes.
We do have some time.
time. Okay.
Yeah. I'll see Charlie before then. I will not be here for, I'll be at a wedding. I gotta go to Pennsylvania, so I won't be here for that weekend. But I'll see Charlie way before that.
All right. So with this, may I have a motion?
request, we can transfer it and.
May,
Yeah, I'll talk to him and have him send a letter.
may I have a motion and a second, please?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Hope, please call the roll.
Councilperson Jaffe?
Yes.
Councilperson Axelrod?
Yes.
Councilperson Nardi?
Yes.
Councilperson Jackson?
Yes.
And Supervisor Zuckerman?
Yes.
I'd just like to make one more thing about with the nights. They were doing a Thursday night, I believe it was a Thursday night, dinner once a month during, after COVID for families that, you know, were struggling, and they were able to come and eat for free. So they were also helping, they do help the community. So,
All right, thank you.
And I do know the cost of the parades, because I've been on the committee for 20 years,
I knew that you would. And I believe you were Grand Marshal
at one time.
at one time. Yes, you were.
Well, we're happy to help those that help the community.
Is this the moment that I am the one who's incurably woke? I'm like, should we consider that there is a secondary holiday for Columbus Day now as well, and that's Indigenous People Day? And perhaps it'd be nice to acknowledge both in some manner? Something to think about for a future meeting?
Certainly can think about it, but right now, nobody's asking us for a contribution.
No, not at all,
But
but
I understand your
incurable
point.
wokeness, yes.
No, and quite properly raised, quite properly raised.
Thank you.
Did we have a motion in a second?
I'll make,
I made the motion.
Yeah, and
I
so
seconded
Jill
it.
seconded
Jill
it.
seconded it.
Please call the roll.
Sure. Councilperson Jaffe?
Yes.
Councilperson Axelrod?
Yes.
Councilperson Nardi?
Yes.
Councilperson Jackson?
Yes.
And Supervisor Zuckerman?
Yes. Our next resolution is implementing a catastrophic sick leave policy for town employees. We have discussed this previously, I believe in executive session. And the resolution is before us. Debbie, would you explain what this does?
Yes, what this policy does is gives the council the ability to provide assistance and support for longtime employees who've given years of service and who suffer a catastrophic illness or personal debilitating event, and are unable who are unable to come in to report to work. And this only kicks in with a very severe illness with documentation, and after that employee has completely exhausted all paid time off and other support. The two other things. It gives the council the ability to continue that employee's salary for 6 months. And after that 6 months, it gives the council discretion to extend at half salary the pay.
Just a quick question, how does that impact donated sick time? If an employee is, because I know we've been doing that as well, so would that be in addition to or on top of?
Well, if if that employee has received donated sick time from their colleagues, that will have to have been used. That sick bank will have to have been depleted before this policy would be brought before the council.
The sick bank, the town has a sick bank,
Yes.
and do they get a percentage of it, or are they able to exhaust the whole sick bank?
The way our sick bank works, if an employee becomes sick and is about to run through their sick time and other PTO, paid time off, then a request goes out to all the colleagues in the town of Rye who have accumulated sick time to ask if they would like to donate to that particular person
Okay.
in that particular illness incident.
Okay.
And these are only current sick days. These aren't expired sick days or,
I don't believe sick days expire. There is a limit to the
Correct.
amount of sick
Yes.
days that the town permits
to carry over.
employees-
That's what I was,
Well, to accumulate. Right.
Thank you.
I think we should also
I guess
point-
to accrue, pardon me. I think the
Yeah.
right word is accrue.
proof. Yeah, carry over from year to year.
Yes.
you know, I think it's necessary to point out that this, the sick leave is subject to medical verification which may include at the town's discretion an examination by a physician appointed by the town. And that this is a discretionary policy for the most part. Although obviously for any employee that would qualify, because we're enacting it, certainly the first part for the first 6 months, I can't imagine that we would decline to grant it to the employee. But the full-time employee has to have worked for the town for a minimum of 5 years. So somebody can't just join the town and then get sick and be entitled to this, or not entitled or qualified for it. So this is something that's an added benefit, and it's capable of being removed at the discretion of the council if it's not working properly.
I just have one quick question. It's about the discretionary aspect of the legislation. If we, in our discretion, see fit to approve one instance and maybe not another in the future, would that leave us subject to litigation?
Yes.
Okay.
Doesn't mean they're gonna win.
Correct. Yes. No, I just asking the question to play devil's
Yeah,
advocate.
That's kind of a follow-up on what I just said, is that I cannot conceive that once the policy is in place, that we would deny somebody who is catastrophically ill the benefit for at least the first 6 months. And again, we have the ability to, by resolution, eliminate the policy should we so choose. So,
Let's hope
With
we don't
that-
have to use it as.
yeah. May I have a motion and a second?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilperson Jaffe?
Yes.
Councilperson Axelrod?
Yes.
Councilperson Nardi?
Yes.
Councilperson Jackson? And
Yes.
Supervisor Zuckerman?
Yes. Our next item is authorizing a contract to remove and replace the red Pebble Walkway near the Garden and Children's Playground at Crawford Park. We've had discussion about this as to what to do. The original, what we call the red Pebble path, has encountered destruction to some degree. And we were looking at ways to remedy that, including putting a new similar red pebble path or removing it and putting grass. And this solution, after discussion, is to remove it and replace it with with pavers that will be colored similar to the red pebble path, and hopefully have a much longer life. Do we have any comments? Debbie, do you want to say anything? Or Vic? I see Vic is hanging out there. Anybody want to comment on this?
I would defer to Vic, but what I can tell you is that the exploration of how best to replace the existing path has been extensive. We've explored several options. This seems to be the best option for the location and for the longevity. So hopefully we won't have to do this again. There'll still be some permeability to the surface, which we're really pleased about. And I think the aesthetic will really belong in that location.
Thank you. Vic, any comment?
Just to give you an idea about the red pebble pathway, it's glued together, but not glued the way you would think. It's lightly glued together to create the permeability. If you glued it tightly together, there would be no water movement there. It would just sit on top. So being so lightly glued together with the storms, the children, the constant movement on there has created all these holes that have made it a safety hazard.
Thank you. And as Debbie said, we looked into replacing it with concrete. We looked into replacing it with other materials, and this seems to be the best solution. And I don't think it's very much more expensive than the concrete solution. Am I correct, Vic? I think
It's just a little bit more, but the concrete doesn't allow the water to go through. So, this will at least allow the water to permeate.
yeah, and it's more attractive too.
Yes, definitely.
All right.
I do have a question, because I did take a look at the garden again today, and I noticed the planters were somewhat overgrown, the portion that was fenced off in the construction fence, but also the portion of the planters to the left of the construction fence that's separate. It just looked a little overgrown and neglected.
Well,
Okay, we tell our, that's one of the Friends beds, and that's, taken care of John Zick, and he's been told about it.
Okay, thank you.
all right. Motion in a second.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Hope, call the roll, please.
Councilperson Jaffe,
Yes.
Councilperson Axelrod, Councilperson Nardi,
Yes.
Councilperson Jackson,
Yes.
and Supervisor Zuckerman.
Yes. The next item we're going to skip over. We're going to have an executive session to discuss this. The executive discussion session will occur after the reports. Now we're ready for the reports. Debbie, do we have an assessor report?
I have the assessor's report. She could not be here this evening and asked that we remind everyone that grievance day is this coming Tuesday. Grievances can be submitted online using our seamless form. The link is at the top of the Assessment Department homepage on our website. And even though the office is closed this Monday for the Juneteenth holiday, grievances can still be submitted then and over the weekend as well. If anyone has a question about their assessment or would like to discuss it with them, they can call or email the Assessment Department tomorrow or Tuesday, but the office will be very busy on Tuesday, so it would be best to contact the assessment department tomorrow.
Thank you. Crawford Activity Report, Camille.
Good evening, everyone. Okay, so the momentum continues at Crawford. Our numbers continue to increase. The total number of inquiries, trying to see which is the best place to move this here. The number of inquiries to date cumulatively are 254, which is an average of 51 leads per month, and it includes 28 leads that we've already received for 2023. And unfortunately, we had 34 inquiries that we had to turn down because the dates were not available, which we really hate to do, but don't have too much of a choice. As far as the bookings are concerned, let me just back up. The comparison of the inquiries from June of last year is 171 versus this year's 254. So that's a considerable increase and improvement. A lot of it, of course, has to do with the fact that COVID is behind us, and people just cannot wait to get out and celebrate. So moving on to the number of events that we have booked so far, it's 186 versus last year's very sad 61. We are now up to an average of 26 bookings each month, and 11 of the cumulative events are already booked for 2023, and that includes security deposit. The dates are theirs. And for the revenue, again, more good news. We are now looking at, and this is net revenue, and when I say net revenue, what I've done is I've taken the cumulative revenue and deducted the security deposits, because in essence, that's really not revenue, it gets refunded. So year-to-date, we are at 164,000 versus 83,000 from last year. And that does include 48,000 of payments that are pending because their due date has not come up yet. And I know we always ask this question, Dave, so I included it here. The full year plan for revenue is 205,000. So I think we're on track to,
Was that the budgeted amount?
yes, yeah. So I'm pretty confident that
So we're half,
pretty
so we
close
have
to-
164,000 for half, not even quite half a year.
Correct,
So that would
correct.
be over 300,000 if, at that rate.
That makes me nervous. Okay. So one of the things that we've talked about in the past, in keeping with the Crawford mission of serving the community, I just wanted to showcase the fact that we are almost 50-50 in terms of rentals versus what we're doing with the community. And we've got a lot of groups now that are here almost on a regular basis. So the events that we've done, there are 72 of them actually to date. It's $148,000 in revenue that we have waived. And our regular customers, as I call them, are the Portchester School District, the administrators, the teachers, the PTAs. Blindbrook schools have their meetings here as well. Board of Elections, while they're only a few days, there are a lot of revenue because, what's the matter?
No, I'm just saying that we've always had the Board of Elections here. I don't think that's.
That's
No,
not
this
true.
isn't new necessarily. I'm just explaining who the, who we're serving here in the community.
Excuse me, that's not true. We've only had the Board of Elections since the mansion's been reconstructed.
Okay. Rybrook Recreation, the PBA, Portchester Police Department, and our Friends of Crawford. So we've got a lot of groups that are here on a regular basis.
Isn't the Rybrook PBA, Police Benevolent Association, also meeting here?
Yes. That's right, I just put PBA, I didn't put Rybrook, sorry, Rybrook. As far as the usage, makes total sense at this point that the municipal ones are at almost 42% of our bookings, and the residents, almost 30%, non-residents, almost 15%, and the not-for-profit, 14.5%. Okay? And to show you what's coming up in the next 2 months, 2.5 months, you're all aware we have the Great Lawn Summer Series that is going to be 3 concerts and 2 movie nights. First one being June 29th, the second concert's July 24th, and the third one is August 24th. And movies are July 7th and August 4th. Okay? Portchester Council for the Arts starts next week, and they'll be here for 4 weeks, June 27th through July 29th. The Rybrook Rec Summer Camp is 6 weeks, July 5th through August 12th. And the Pride of Portchester Marching Band is here for 2 weeks, August 15th through the 25th. We have 3 days scheduled with the Board of Elections. And then July 16th, we have the annual summer games for the Big Brothers and Big Sisters. So those are really the big pieces of activity that we're going to be having in the next couple of months. Okay? Any questions?
You missed the big one. Rybrook
You
Day.
know, I knew you, honestly, it's not on our calendar because it's not an event we execute. But yes, absolutely. They've started to set up, as you can see outside, and I suspect tomorrow will be the bulk of the activity here. We're waiting for the rides to come in and the vendors, et cetera. So I'm sure, I've seen the floor plan, it really looks like it's gonna be a spectacular event. So everyone should
Good.
come.
I just have a couple of quick questions. I see that we have a lot of camps. Are they gonna be using the upstairs rooms as well?
No.
They-
The people have not been requesting the upstairs rooms, other than, like the school administration groups that need breakout sessions. Because now, unlike last year where we had much smaller groups because of COVID, we can't accommodate the number of attendees in the smaller rooms. The other thing we are learning is that the house is not quite as soundproof as we would like it to be. So to have more than one event in the house at a time can sometimes be challenging unless they're both very low-key meetings or something like that. So we have to sort of balance that when we book the rooms.
Isn't the Rybrook Recreation Summer Camp, that's usually outside, right?
It
That's
is outside, and they use 2 or 3 of our fields every day.
And then the Council for the Arts is indoors, isn't that right?
It's both.
It's both.
We're gonna be putting up the Crawford tent.
Okay.
Next week, I believe, next week we are, because they're coming in. So they do their morning session, which is more the arts and crafts outside under the tent, and then they come in and use the Great Hall for their rehearsals.
And I have one more thing, and I know like with Portchester, they have their Friday night summer series also. But I would like to see it go into September, if it's possible. Yeah, I think it would be nice. I mean, it'd be, it'd be a little chilly. You wear a jacket, and
Right, yeah.
and then we will have the cafe. And I don't see why we can't serve hot chocolate like we do when we have the holiday party.
True.
It would be something nice. I think if we can get into September.
We can certainly find a date on the calendar. I mean, I think, once we have our first event and we know sort of the lay of the land for us in terms of attendance and, how it's received.
Certain things, certain musical tastes are going to attract different people, so you're going to fluctuate.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a pretty good selection.
No, you do. I think it's a
So,
great selection. It's very mixed, and I think throwing a couple movie nights is really nice. And like in September, have another movie night in September. I think it would be another nice thing to do.
Well noted. I'll share it.
Or music.
Perhaps a fall festival.
Hold it.
Yes,
Vic
Vic.
speaks. Vic speaks.
Keep an eye on the budget.
Okay.
Yes, where activities budget with the movie night and the concert series?
It's all fitting within it.
Okay,
But-
but,
In addition to that, I want to give Camille and Vic a great deal of credit. They have secured community sponsorship for several of the events. They're entirely covered
And
by
I'm a-
donations.
And I'm a very firm believer that the parks are for the people. And for me, if you break even with a park, you're doing good. That's the way I feel about it. Maybe not the whole board, but I feel if you break even, you're doing good.
I'm
So-
pretty sure we can accomplish that for most of the things that we're doing. Right,
the
Vic?
snack bar.
Right, Vic?
So,
Yeah.
I have,
I agree with Tom 100%, coming from a background of non-for-profits.
left when you couldn't get your way.
So
I have a couple of quick questions for you.
Shoot.
The first
I'm
one
ready.
is, I'm just looking at the differences and the amount of activities that we are booking for. Have we noticed a sort of interruption to public users, sort of as a result of these activities? Are people still able to go to the park, walk around,
Oh,
enjoy?
Absolutely, yeah, that really has not been a problem. And the interesting thing is when we have very large events, like the wedding we had a couple of weeks ago, you know, initially, the concern for the patron is, well, if the park is open, there's gonna be people everywhere. And you know what? What I've realized is that regardless of the size of the event, once the patron's party is underway, they're not even aware, you know, because our park patrons are pretty respectful, you know, and they might peek over to see, you know, what the event is, but it's never been brought to our attention that that's a problem, fortunately.
And I guess this question would go to Dave Burns. Do you know what we are, because I have asked on a number of occasions, what our net revenue is?
The revenue for Crawford that we budgeted for?
Well, are we at our budget? Where are we? Because it seems to be that we've rose significantly in bookings.
Right, so as Camille was saying, we budgeted 205,000, which was a little lower than we expected, just to be safe after COVID. And you're indicating we're about 160.
But that's gross, correct?
No, that's net.
That's net?
Well, net, and I did clarify it, I think, when I referred to net, I'm deducting the payments that are made for security deposits, which are ultimately refunded after the event. So I'm not taking into consideration, I don't deduct from that number utilities or staffing or anything to that effect. This is clearly the money that is coming in for events.
I'd like to weigh in on this.
But if you don't deduct for staffing and utilities,
Well,
that
we
wouldn't be
do
net.
ultimately,
Well, that's-
but
We have financial statements every month, and we have not yet received the financial statements for May. When we do, we'll have that in another week or so. We have an entire sheet dedicated to Crawford, and I will produce for you and send a net statement on how the park is doing.
I would be interested in that because I know that we are talking about some improvements, and it would be interesting to see if we do have extra money in there, how that might impact those improvements. Because it would go into the fund
No,
balance, correct?
I understand, but and perhaps Dave can assist us here, but I'm drawing the distinction between operating and versus capital.
Correct. But if we do have extra money,
So-
we don't necessarily have to bond for it.
That is correct.
I mean, if it's in the fund balance, we can use it for capital or operating.
Yeah, there are a lot of different considerations, though, in terms of how you approach the financing of the capital improvements. For example, the path, which we're going to be discussing
Correct.
next week. You know, Dave will make a recommendation because it's not as simple as we have money in the bank and so we should take it out. Because if you bond, you spread it out over a period of time as opposed to taking the hit in 1 year.
Yeah,
So
but you
all
s-
of those things have to be taken into account, and the council will make a decision based on discussion with Dave.
Correct, but you still do have a significant amount of debt service. I mean, we already, how much is our debt service payment gonna be this year? Or for 2023? I mean, right off the bat when you're talking.
About 700,000.
Yeah.
Between the two.
So, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but if we can take the profit from Crawford and put it back into Crawford and make improvements for Crawford, it might be something to discuss.
It can be discussed, absolutely.
You can take a portion, not the whole thing. You don't want to wipe it dry.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it might impact what we're able to do or how we do it if we have.
Camille,
Yes, sir.
are you finished with this section?
Yes, I am.
I know you're dying to talk about the charging stations.
Absolutely, I'm dying to talk about
By way of background for the public, June 1st is when we first began charging for our EV charging stations. And the results, I believe, are interesting.
The results are in, sort of. There you go. You got it. Okay. Okay, so, not much of a surprise, at least for us that are here every day. In terms of the number of sessions, the number of unique drivers, as of June 1st has significantly decreased. 37 sessions. Also remember though that these numbers for June are, that you're looking at on the graphs, are only for 12 days. Okay, so it's not a full month. And next month we will have a much truer picture, I think. But for now, just to sort of give you an idea of how it's trending, and we're not totally surprised, but it has gone down significantly. What I wanted to focus on really, in terms of the financial sections, you'll see that right over here, the way they report the numbers is on a monthly or a 4-week basis. So I've taken the liberty of extending the numbers and expanding on what it could look like by the end of this month. So I'll just go right across the row. So the actual revenue reported from ChargePoint was $217 for the 12 days, roughly $18 a day. It could grow to $540 by the end of this month. The utility cost, and these are actual numbers, $195 for the 12 days. It's actually $16 a day, and it could be at $488 for the month. The profit numbers are a little disappointing, but net profit for the 12 days is $22, potentially $52 for the 31 days. But next month, I think we'll be able to really have a much better idea. But I could tell you just visually, you know, normally, at minimum, two cars in there every morning when we pull in, and we just haven't seen it. So, we haven't received any feedback. I don't know if the town offices have. Debbie, is anyone?
You know, I haven't received a single
Yeah,
complaint on
neither
this.
have we. Neither
From my
have we.
perspective, instead of providing this benefit for free, we are now charging for it, and as far as I can see, we're breaking even.
Yeah,
And I'm rather pleased with this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not costing us any money to have the
No.
charging stations, and we're making a little bit of money, very little bit of money.
Mm-hmm.
And we're seeing what the real demand is when people have to pay for the charging. I'm just curious, you have the number of unique drivers.
Mm-hmm.
Are you keeping a record? In other words, unique, so you know who they are.
You know, I believe we do, because they're all registered with ChargePoint, so I'm pretty sure we could identify.
I'm just
who
curious,
they
I don't
are.
care who the names are, but I'm
Yeah.
just curious as to whether there have been some drivers who use it regularly and now don't use it at all, as opposed to, there are some who continue to use it, and are these people who used it before and use it again?
We should be able to pull those
You know, we
numbers,
should,
yeah.
no, because, you know, it would be interesting. And we need to know this because, you know, we still have, you know, energy programs available to put charging stations in. And as I said a couple of meetings ago, the question that we need to know is, should we put more charging stations in? If these charging stations are not being used on a regular basis, if they're being used half the time and the other time they're empty, then there's really no reason to put additional stations in.
Yeah.
If they're being used constantly, then that's something then that we could look at. So, you know, that would have a bearing on it.
The one thing that I'm wondering, and I mentioned this to Candy the other day, is because we were saying, you know, there's nobody out there, there's no one out there. And I said, where are these people going? I mean, we had so many, last month, 231 sessions. Where are those people going if they're not coming here? You know, it's not like there's 1-2 blocks from here, you know, so just be
There are,
curious.
excuse me, there are others around. They may be more convenient, and if we're gonna charge approximately what they're gonna charge and it's closer to home,
Yeah.
they'll go there. The others are, some people may actually have the ability to charge at home, but would rather not pay for the electricity,
Yeah, okay, I didn't think of that.
you know?
Yeah,
You know,
yep.
the other thing is, I remember when we were discussing this and we're going with the price point that we decided to go. We were right in the middle. We weren't the lowest, we weren't the highest, just
Right.
straight in the middle. And I think it's a fair price for people that want to
Yep.
charge their car. And, you know, you got people that, well, I can charge it for free, you know. Now you gotta pay,
Yeah.
you know, and it's not a lot of money for what they gotta, for
Yeah.
what they're being charged.
The sessions have gotten shorter, by the way.
Well-
The idle time has gotten shorter.
Isn't that what you want, so you can
Yeah.
charge more cars?
Yeah, ultimately, yeah.
But
Yeah, so we'll see how this model works over the summertime, and then we can make a decision at some point if we do or do not wish to put more stations in. I mean, excuse me, Tom, we had discussions with different companies.
Yes.
We had one company who wanted to put 20 stations in. And, you know, I went like this, stop. I said, we don't know if we need 20 stations.
Right.
It's good for you to put 20 stations in. I don't know if it's good for us, or the public even. If they're not gonna be used, it doesn't pay. So,
And anything new, like that, like you start like this, where we're charging, it's gonna take a little bit to soak in, like, okay, you know, it's not that bad. You know, it'll probably pick up more than likely. Like I said, we are in the midpoint, and trying to find somebody that's less expensive, you're gonna use your electricity to go that far, you know?
Right, right.
I'm not big on I'm sorry, I'm still a gas car. I'm sorry, I'm not into this electric stuff, but you know, I know it's,
you
getting
just like
popular.
the sound of your car without a muffler.
no, I have a muffler, it's just I choose not to use it. I have the baffles on it.
All right,
Any other questions?
no.
Okay,
I did,
thank you. Oh, sorry.
You said that there aren't cars there in the morning when you come in, which actually I take as a win, because we had talked about that at our last meeting, cars overnighting in the
Yes, that's
parking lots.
correct, yeah.
Which is a lead-up question to, are we actually putting the chain across the drive? Vic?
You can't,
No? Okay.
no, you can't.
But no, that's a win.
Yeah.
You have to leave that access in case of, you know, with EMS and stuff, if God forbid there's a fire and stuff. I know the trucks usually come up on Lincoln Avenue because the turn's a little difficult for some of the trucks. So they come up Lincoln, but the ambulance could come up from Ridge Street.
But yeah, no, that
Okay,
makes me happy.
All right. Camille, thank you very much.
thank you.
Vic, do you have
Thank you,
anything?
everyone.
You're next up.
Just that the park is looking beautiful, and thanks to the Friends that we've just added 4 new trees to go along with a memorial tree that was dedicated through Janai So we've added 5 new trees to the property. With all the rain, it's looking great. And we are helping Rybrook with everything they're doing, and it's been going super.
Thank you, Vic.
That being said, I'll flesh it out a little bit. If you all recall, we had the access ceremony where we turned ourselves into a green park. Vic is actually helping the village of Rybrook do the same. So they've been holding seminars here and workshops, and Vic has been doing a lot of the coordination of that for our sister village.
Excellent.
I've been getting a lot of compliments about how good Crawford Park looks. I really have.
And then, as another offshoot of all of Vic's works to greenify Crawford, got a lovely comment from Russ last week. It was last week that we had the Pride ceremony, that he had the lawn mowing machines going at Rye Town Park during the ceremony, and you couldn't hear them because the Rye Park Commission also approved green machinery. So he said it's made a big difference in quality of living and recreation at that park as well. So thank you, Vic, for all of your leadership here.
Vic,
Well,
you're a
also
wonder.
we had a day with Rybrook DPW and Chris Bradbury and showed them our electric equipment. Spent a good hour to 2 hours with them.
Vic, thank you so much. We really appreciate everything that you do. Now, Hope, would you like to talk about elections, Madam Clerk?
Yes, I will. It's an important reminder that primary election day will be held Tuesday, June 28th, and there are special dates, early voting dates set out. I'm going to place these on the website, but, and there's different locations. So the first early voting day will be on Saturday, June 18th, from 10 to 6, but then there will be the Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but there's, oh gosh, the closest ones, spots for us would be in Mamaroneck, the town of Mamaroneck, and also, I think it's in.
You're talking about early voting?
Yeah, early voting.
Yeah,
right.
in
Mhm.
Rybrook, the
In
Rybrook Firehouse is,
Firehouse, right, And rather than to go through the whole schedule, I will, like I said, put it on the website.
well, for people in the town of Rye, which means us, the only location is the Rybrook Firehouse.
Yeah, the Marinick Town Center too.
But
That's
that's
for-
not in the town of Rye.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, that would
Yes,
be
that's-
for people that are in,
I believe
Rhinebeck.
anybody can vote at any early voting center.
Right.
But in the town of Rye, there's only one, and that's at the Rybrook Firehouse. There are none in Portchester and none in Rhinebeck. Although Rhinebeck people obviously could go to the Mamaroneck Town Center.
Right, Mamaroneck.
That's for early
Town
voting
hall.
only. And Hope, we have the normal voting places in the town in Rybrook and Portchester for the primary day.
No, for the actual general election.
What about
General
primary,
election.
what about primary day, not early voting?
I believe we do. I haven't, yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's,
Isn't that the 28th?
it's the 28th, right. Yeah, I did mention that's the.
And there are elections here that day.
No, that's what I'm saying, is that on primary day, the 28th, all of the polling places
Will be
are
open.
in effect.
Yes, they are,
But on early voting, the only one in the town of Rye is the Rybrook Firehouse.
right. Yes. It's convenient for people that may work in different locations, that they could go to any location to vote for the early voting.
Exciting that we have it here in the town
Yes.
of Rye, 'cause I remember
Mhm.
standing in that line around the corner And down in Mamaroneck, the last early voting, so.
Yes, I think we were in Harrison as well, the Veterans Ball, but I don't see that on this schedule. So it's great that we have it here.
I think this was put out by the Board of Elections.
Yes,
Well, I think, they didn't word this correctly, because it says June 28th, primary election, new early voting hours. It doesn't really indicate this is for early voting. In other words, June 18th, 19th, it says a June 28th primary. So, I'm looking for June 28th primary, early
it's-
voting hours. I'm saying, well, maybe they're gonna open it at 4 AM for
But-
early voting, but that's not what this means. This
Right.
means for the early voting on the days, the 18th, 19th, 20th, et cetera.
but it does specify that the election day is from 6 to 9, and you have to vote at your designated poll site on election day. If you are unsure of your election day poll site, please contact the Board of Elections, and they also could contact my office at 914-939-3570.
Okay, you're gonna get a lot of,
We do. We expect it.
okay. Our next report is the financial report. Davy?
I'll make one comment. The outside auditors will be presenting the audit report results for 2021 at the July meeting. There was some last-minute changes with Wright Town Park financials that, may have affected Town of Rye. So it'll be presented at the July meeting. So I'll let them present the numbers, but a quick summary is that 2021, we've rebounded tremendously versus 2020 COVID year. We'll be adding about 2.2 million to unrestricted fund balance. We started the year 2021 with about 1.7 in unrestricted fund balance. So we've more than doubled the fund balance by the end of 2021. That gives us some options, whether, as Lindsay's point to, for certain capital projects to pay from it from fund balance reserves or look to debt service. There has been an increase in interest rates, so that has an impact on the borrowing rate. And our borrowing rate in the past that we've been borrowing for long-term bonds and bands has been, very good. And that now is changing. So, the fact that we have this reserve and fund balance gives us some options. And so we're in very good shape. So that's quiet from finance department. When there's good news, we stay quiet.
Very good. I just wanted to go over the in-rem tax liens filed. We only have on the list of in-rem properties that may go, that are in court, only 4 properties. And of those 4 properties, I believe 2 of them will be paying. In fact, I had heard that one of them did pay. It's not on here. And I closed. I don't know that if the check was sent to, if it's still with the title company or it was sent to the receiver. Well, Jeff, would you call tomorrow?
Which property?
Munson.
Oh, Munson.
Yeah. So we expect that there'll only be, hopefully by the end of the month, there'll only be 2 properties on that list. So that's all I have to say about that. Thank you, David. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Any questions of Dave? No? No? Okay. The receiver?
Good evening.
Nick, are
Mr.
you
Super-
on?
Hello.
Hello,
Can you hear me?
Nicholas.
We hear you.
Good evening, all. Nicholas Mecca, receiver of taxes. Just want to remind everybody that it's time for village payments. Dorchester is a 50% first and half. Rybrook is 2/3. This is due by June 30th. Everyone should have a bill. If you did not get the bill, you can go online and get a copy of it or call the office and we'd be happy to send one out to you. Remind everybody that the website is up for online payments and working well. And we have the box out front of 222 Grace Church Street to accept your payments 24/7. So, okay? Everyone, please pay the money because we have to pay the guarantees for the village taxes for 221. We need the cash. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. We always need the cash, right? That's his job. Okay, Jeff, Town Attorney, any report from you today?
No, I'll brief the council.
We're gonna go into executive session a little bit, and Hope, your report, anything to add?
Nothing
Nope,
to
thank you. Before we go into executive session, I just want to report, I know that the council is aware that the bids came in for the Crawford Park path restoration and reconstruction. The low bid was approximately $414,000. We're getting $125,000 as a SAM grant, that State and Municipal Facilities Grant, obtained by Steve Otis. I understand that the Friends of Crawford Park have collected approximately $30,000 towards that. And that leaves us a little bit short, to say the least. Debbie is organizing a work session at Crawford Park for the council to walk the path and to determine exactly what we would like to do with it. There are several options, including letting the contract for the $414,000. So that's all that I'm going to say at this time about that. I know that Laura Klein of the Friends of Crawford Park would like to speak. Laura, are you on? Laura?
Hello.
Hi, Laura.
Hi, guys. Hi, thanks for spending some time with me. I've been listening to this whole meeting, expecting this to be on the agenda. When did it jump off the agenda? I thought you guys were going to vote on this tonight.
It's not on the agenda. We have to get a recommendation from the engineer and vet the low bidder. Make sure all the papers are in order.
I looked on the website, Gary, and last week it was on the agenda. Posted right after the Pebble Path. You guys were going to discuss the renovations and did.
Laura, I don't want to interrupt you, but I don't know how it was on the agenda. I don't know who put it on the agenda. It's not on the agenda for tonight. If all goes, the council.
Mysterious. That's interesting. Okay, well, that's fine. When are you guys going to vote on it?
Laura, I'm having trouble hearing you.
I'm sorry?
Laura, you're not coming through clearly.
Oh, you're not coming through clearly either. So when are you guys going to vote on the path renovations?
The vote will be taken either at the next monthly meeting, or if the council is in agreement, I will call a special meeting for that purpose.
Okay.
Okay, I will make.
Here's my 2 cents.
Let me just say, I will make a commitment, and I think the council will agree that this path will be done in some way, shape, or form. Okay, we are committed to getting the path done. Does anybody disagree with that? No. We will get the path done, and we will get it done right. Make that commitment to you.
I mean, okay, all right. I mean, I know that you guys are going through a lot of inflation and, the price of asphalt and it's off the charts right now, and I don't want to waste taxpayers' money. At an expense of $414,000 is too much to spend on a 1 mile park walking path, in my opinion. I mean, you guys make the decision, so maybe you'll choose differently. But I just think that there's got to be a better solution than, maybe you scale down the project, you break it up into parts. I know that when Vic just started, he had bids for about, this was,
All of those,
how many years have you been working for us, Vic? About 5 years, maybe? And he got a bid for like $78,000 that was broken into different sections. So there are companies out there. And also, another question and point is, I thought that because this was considered a maintenance project, that you did not have to pay prevailing wages on this. Is
that's
that
not true.
false?
That's not true. Has to be
That
prevailing
was a
wage. This is a
Capital.
this is a public, what's called a public works contract. And all of the requirements of bidding are in place. They cannot be eliminated. There's no way around it. It has to go to public bid. Anything over $35,000 has to go to public bid. And the low bidder, unless disqualified for some reason, will be awarded the bid. The question you raised, an interesting question. The council will walk the path and make a determination if they wish to cut back on the length of the path to be repaired, or I should say replaced. But the specifications that are in effect are the proper specifications and are designed to make a long-lasting, proper replacement for the path. We are going to get it done in one way or another, and the way that we're going to do that will be determined by the council. We are committed to getting this finished, and to getting it done, and to getting it done the right way. All right?
I hear you.
Okay.
All right. I'll stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Have we disappointed you yet? Is the park not the most beautiful one in all of Westchester? Oh, I guess she went. Okay. All right. May I have a motion to go into executive session to discuss litigation?
So, I'll second.
Before you go into executive session, do you want to talk about Juneteenth? Oh, just here.
Oh, yes.
I don't have it on my agenda. That's why I didn't look at it.
It wasn't on last month either, but we can always talk to it.
Okay. Debbie, do you want to talk about Juneteenth?
Yes, but I want to bring up my show and tell.
Also, a really nice feature in the Westmore about Memorial Day.
Yes, it was very nice.
Very nice.
So Juneteenth is this weekend. The Town of Rise observance is scheduled for the Saturday morning at 10 a.m. to noon. We are first of all, we are gathering in the historic African American Cemetery, which is located behind Greenwood Memorial Cemetery off of North Street in the city of Rye. We will begin with a ceremony which will include remembrances and remarks from heirs of the people who are interred at the cemetery. There are a full program of officials who will be appearing and speaking. We also have, at this point, well over 20 people registered to attend to participate in a service project that we have organized in conjunction with the Osborne Home, which is actually our contiguous neighbor at the African American Cemetery, and our service road is actually is by easement a connection between the rest of the cemetery and the road and the cemetery. And what we are going to be doing is planting about 30 plants along the service entrance to create a real entrance to the cemetery. So I want to invite the public, by all means, please come and join us. We're starting promptly at 10 a.m. We will have a very brief observance, perhaps a half an hour, not much more, and then we will all grab a shovel and do some public service to help to beautify and to pay honor to the African Americans who are buried in that cemetery. And I was remiss in not starting with what is Juneteenth. And Juneteenth is often referred to as Independence Day. It commemorates the day that Black Africans, that the news of slavery emancipation was reached the people of Texas back in the year. Help me.
It's on your flyer, I believe.
It certainly is on the flyer, but I don't. I'm
1865.
Thank you very much.
June 19th.
1865, June 19th. So we are celebrating on June 18th. Please come and join us. If you're going to come to do public service, please go to our website, sign up, because we have a waiver and we'll know who you are. So, thank you.
We do want to thank the Osborne. Vic has sourced the plants that we're going to be planting, but the Osborne is actually going to cover them. So they have been wonderful partners. Tommy, we're going to reach out to you because our portion of this will be putting down the gravel eventually. So I know that's more your bailiwick than mine.
Yeah, because I have for years been wanting that path, that roadway to be a little more secure because it gets really muddy and it's got to be a little safer to get up
Put down the
there.
gravel all by yourself.
That's
Yeah.
Bring my grandson with me.
That was when we talked to the Osborne about how to do it, that was kind of the split we made, was that they would help with the plantings so that the entrance in would be beautiful and a little less shaggy. And then we would take care of the path, which is actually their right of way. So it's
Yeah.
in partnership.
We're going to put item 4 on?
It should have item 4 first and then put the gravel on top of it. What I really wanted to see was like on either side of the roadway, have like railroad ties going up.
We'd have to, yes.
Yeah, we have to have
Otherwise
something,
it's
because
gonna
otherwise
float.
it's just gonna spread out. So you have to have like railroad ties or something to stabilize to keep it from going from the sides.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So that is something that we will likely budget for in our next season and then do hopefully around February tied to Martin Luther King Day. So,
That's good. Yeah, because
I
I
don't know-
wanted that.
I don't know that you want to be outside
No, not
putting
in
gravel
February.
down on Martin Luther King Day in January.
You wanna
well,
do
that
in
was
the spring.
Vic's theory, that we would do it around then and then the
Might be a
beautification.
snow, might be a snowstorm.
There's no snow on the ground too.
Right.
That could be an
The
issue.
other problem
She's seen
is,
us in the snow, trying
other
to like
problem-
weed.
the other problem is you can have frozen ground. And then you're gonna try to put item 4 on frozen ground, then you're gonna have a thaw, now you're gonna have it sink. So you're better off doing it in the spring
Oh,
Or the fall.
or in the fall. Yes, spring or the fall, not in dead winter, no.
Why don't we figure out how much it's going to cost? And then we'll see if the funds are available in this year's budget to do that.
sounds good. So we will work with Vic and then Tommy, you're our special project leader on this.
Okay.
Now, may I have a motion and a second to go into executive session for litigation matters?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're now in executive session. Please turn off all communication.
Okay. Okay.
Tell us when to go.
By the way, you know you're late when there's a park attendant waiting outside in a parking spot with a cone in it.
No, that was here for me as well,
Okay.
5 to 6, just so you know, because there was something going on. So I was like, wait, I'm with the town council.
Nice, shows you how well organized the park staff is.
I appreciate that very much, because when
And
I
they
first pulled in,
recognize, they're like, you're here for the council meeting. I was like, oh, yeah. I'm late, thanks.
A young man said, you better back out again, I would have gotten Gary's car.
What's that?
I parked next to you, says, back out a little.
Yeah. He was looking at us.
It's like,
Yeah, but that was funny though. I was like, oh, wow, this is fancy.
Yeah, I know, I loved it, it said like, come on, it said Crawford.
This is on, isn't it?
Yeah, they're on.
So very-
Are we ready to go?
No, it doesn't happen that often.
No, I don't usually feel that way.
Okay,
at
guys,
all.
guys.
not for nothing, I always wondered about that property because of all the history with it.
Well, now you know.
Surprise, it's back! Change their hotel rooms before there are no hotel rooms left.
We thought we were done.
Pardon me?
I had an absolutely delicious hamburger there.
I would be skeptical of that hamburger.
It was really good. I went there once with Elaine, and then when Elaine was in Montreal, I went there.
We're ready.
Okay, can we go?
5, 4, 3, 2.
Okay. Welcome back, everybody. We are now back in public session. We have a resolution to authorize a payment to settle a matter involving 12 Oak Street in Portchester, which had previously been the subject of a foreclosure action. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I was going to say, call the roll, please.
Shelley. Councilperson Jaffe.
Yes.
Councilperson Axelrod.
Yes.
Councilperson Nardi.
Yes.
Councilperson Jackson. And
Yes.
Supervisor Zuckerman.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned until July 21st, unless we call a special meeting before that. Thank you all.